Coming up on Tech News today, Oracle is a troublemaker. They're just picking fights with everyone. Also, Amazon's changing the entire publishing industry. They've come up with a new type of book we've never seen before. And Apple's giving Denmark a bum deal. We'll tell you why.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, October 12th, 2010. Tech News Today is brought to you by MailRoute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free at MailRoute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Becky Worley.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show. This is a show.
You found it.
You found a show. This is the show today where we've got Sony announcing something live at 5:30 Eastern. What's that about, Sony? What's up with the scheduling?
Who knows?
Who does that?
I don't know. When you're trying to incorporate your internets and your old media for the living room with the Google TV, you get all crazy.
Everybody's off work. They want to go hit the bars in New York. They don't want to go sit around and hear Sony talk about like, oh, we've got a bunch of new Sony TVs with Google TV integrated inside. They're going to be $600 to $1,400. And we got a Blu-ray with Sony Google TV integrated inside, and that's going to be $400. And they have 8 gigabytes of storage and an integrated Intel CPU. And we got this crazy big remote. Nobody wants to hear that.
I think they do, Tom.
They do?
I think they do.
Okay.
I think that
they just did.
We've seen from Logitech the review product that they created, which is a stopgap measure that integrates remote control and Google TV that you can then pipe into your existing television. But this is Sony coming in with out-of-the-box configuration for Google TV, which may be the future if this really is going to take off.
So this is pretty similar to the Logitech review. What is different about this that's not just Google TV-ness? Because we know about the Google TV-ness now. What's in here that Sony is bringing to the table? It's the first TV that's powered by TV, as we were joking before. It's the first TV with Google TV built in.
And I think that actually is important because when you look at the consumer space for living room, they don't want to treat their TV like a computer. The ones who are early adopters have already done that by getting streaming solutions from Netflix and Roku through their Xbox 360. But this is the one that comes pre-configured out of the box. It even looks like it has some apps on it out of the box. From what we can see, they have Dish network integration, not unlike the Logitech review, where you can search your DVR listings. If you are a Dish subscriber, you can also, obviously through Google TV, search the internet, search YouTube. And the fact, again, that it's pre-configured and they have a remote that has a keyboard on it. It's similar to the one that was leaked in the Nightline piece last week. Slightly different colors and what have you. But again, it's still huge. It's still massive.
Yeah. It's as big as my head.
It's bigger than a grilled cheese sandwich. Let's put it that way. And you're still going to
make a grilled cheese sandwich that size. That sounds awesome.
It's a pretty big. It's bigger than that. And so what that basically means is that you're thumb typing on a QWERTY keyboard instead of, as with the Logitech one, it was.
Yeah, I liked the design that there was Vizio came out with a while back for their widgets, where the keyboard was a full QWERTY keyboard that slid out from underneath. So it felt like a full QWERTY keyboard. You're still thumb typing, but then it wasn't in the way.
Right.
And this looks like it's kind of in the way.
Right. I think this is not necessarily groundbreaking innovation, although I do like the fact that they have 2 tiers. So you can either get the Blu-ray disc, the Blu-ray player, which has Google TV built into it. If you want to integrate this into your existing system, that costs about $300. Was it $300 or $399?
It's actually $399 for the Blu-ray player, right. And you can pre-order now for all the products that they're announcing, the 3 TVs and the Blu-ray player, as well as ship date. They gave a ship date of October 16th.
So that's pretty comparable because the Logitech review is $300, and basically all you're getting out of that is a port to put content in and then up to your TV, and you get the keyboard. And this gives you a Blu-ray player plus Google TV and the remote functionality.
Yeah, kind of it's like, what do you need?
Right.
You just need the box? Logitech. Need a Blu-ray player? Sony. Need a whole new television and you just want it built in? Sony's got the only one for the holidays.
And that's where I think this is a good strategic decision from Google to create multiple tiers and multiple entry points for consumers.
$600 for a 24-inch TV with Google TV built in. That's not bad.
It's not
It's a little
bad.
small, but it's not outrageous.
And as a first product, that's actually a good sign because I don't think consumers will adopt this at all if it feels like it's a step up of more than $50.
It's going to look expensive next to the other 24-inch TVs this holiday season, though.
Well, I expect it will come down by then, perhaps even by late December. You never know what kind of discounts you may see, but I think it's a good sort of harbinger of the fact that this will not seem like a huge jump up in what you pay to get Google TV on your set.
Sony Style Store or BestBuy.com are the place to pre-order them if you were to be interested in that. That's what they've said, and they're wrapping up right now. So let's move on to Google not powering TVs, but powering power.
Wind power.
Google is investing in a project called the Atlantic Wind Connection. I used to see them at the old R&B place down the street. They were so good. The Atlantic Wind Connection. This is different, though. It's an effort to create a 350-mile power transmission backbone linking wind turbines miles offshore along the East Coast. So Google's getting a lot more credit here than they deserve, in my opinion. What they're doing is they're putting in some money, 35.7% of the funding, for a backbone which is necessary to connect wind farms. This project doesn't actually build the wind farms. It just makes it so that they can be built.
I think this is very telling, though, in terms of Google's strategy. They're all about infrastructure and harnessing the leverage that they have as deep pockets and big money. And they've already shown with their Iowa Wind project a commitment to green energy. A couple things that are important here. The transmission is important. This is the backbone, getting it from the far reaches where we have high wind in the Atlantic coastline. And coastline is a little bit misleading because what they're going to do, by the size of this transmission backbone, they'll be able to push the wind farm further from the shore so people won't see it. This has been the impediment for the Cape Wind project. And when I was in Denmark last year, I went out and saw the Danish wind project, and you have to go a long way to get there, and it's not terribly visible from shore. And that is a big, not in my seafront shore
not in
impediment.
My beautiful sea view. Yeah.
So this might actually really be a tipping point for getting offshore wind to power, and they say it's 6,000 megawatts of power.
Thank goodness the Earth is round.
That's right. You can't see over that horizon, but it could power 1.9 million households. That's huge. And I got to also say, so I'm from Maui, and we've put up a ton of turbines on the West Maui Mountains. It's not visually appealing, but you know what? If it means energy independence, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like a big old coal plant spewing smoke in the air is real pretty either. I mean, you know, these things generally aren't pretty. You know what's pretty? Nuclear power plant. It's kind of nice looking.
No.
The thought about it may not be pretty to a lot of people, but it's so curvy. Kind of like it.
It's like a lady's figure to Tom.
Yeah.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful nuclear energy.
Yeah, just drive down the I-5 right past the Kalama River, and I say...
Nuclear energy is now becoming more expensive because of the recession, bringing down costs of other... I mean, relatively more expensive. So projects like this are important. I don't mean to minimize the importance of a project that will allow this backbone to be built, because otherwise these wind farms could not be built. They need a way to transmit the power in, like you were saying. It's just that everyone's talking about how Google's building wind farms. Well, Google isn't doing anything. Google is giving a third of the money to a project that will make it possible for other people to build wind farms.
And they're putting their name on it, which gives it some sort of respectability or cachet, and that's moving the project forward.
Right, exactly. All right. Another Google thing that we talked about yesterday was the Google self-driving car, and what we didn't get to talk about yesterday was Becky got to be near one. Play around with it? What did you get? Where you were?
I all but drove it, which you don't drive it. But basically, you know the story. I'll give you the experience of being in the car. It is incredibly herky-jerky. Yeah, it's a Prius. And I'm telling you, this thing slams the brakes. Gas is like mad. It drives like my dad, which is not a good thing. I expected my mom to be yelling at the car.
It was the most efficient way to drive. The computer proves it.
It's definitely not ready for prime time. Getting a test driving in the back seat. They had a safety driver and then an engineer in the front seat. But I have to tell you, it is as autonomous as they say. There definitely, when it came to routing, you had to get involved. But what I did that really kind of freaked me out was I decided, okay, I'm going to really put this thing to the test and my own athleticism. Go back to it here, Jason. You'll see I stepped in front of it as the car came out, and it slammed on the brakes.
Wow, and it really slammed them on because it kind of jerks right before it gets to you.
Oh, it did the full, like...
You didn't flinch, though.
I was scared.
You got to own it at that point. You're like, well...
If it hits me,
it's
great news. It's a great video.
I better get a damn Emmy for that. That's all I can say. But that's the ultimate test is for a self-driving car. How does it handle the unexpected? And I was damn impressed.
Yeah.
So I have to say that it was as a participant, I think this is something we need to watch. And I see this first application as the solution to texting and driving. You have to check your phone for directions. You have to check your phone for a text. You hit the auto drive when it's the right moment. It gives you 2 seconds or 3 seconds of look away, and then you go back. You
I
guys
thought it was
buying
interesting in the video in the sense that they were saying, this isn't meant to drive you to and from places. This is meant to supplement. But people are going to use it like that. Like, what's to stop someone from using it like that if that's not what it's meant to do?
Well, you're still the responsibility would be what's to stop it.
So if you get into a jam,
that's a legal question, which is, hey, if something does go wrong, can I defer responsibility to the software maker?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not saying that a lawyer wouldn't be more than happy to sue Google if there were an accident, but they had to go into very fine depth to find out if that was true, because if it's not, if the driver is not responsible, that's not a street legal car.
Right, exactly.
So Google did a ton of due diligence just to be able to test those on real roads, and they decided you are liable because you're running the software.
Amazon is liable to launch a new product every day. That was horrible. I will call attention to that one.
Segway police.
Amazon is launching Kindle Singles, a new way of producing those middle-length works. They're longer than a New Yorker article, but they're shorter than a novella. What do we do with them? They have no place right now. Until Amazon Singles have come along, Kindle Singles.
As soon as I read this, I thought, they're trying to get us to return to the idea of the salon writings, where you have deep thought and you put a lot of energy into this essay, this treatise, and it will be aggregated by the Kindle bookstore and shared in a much lower cost payment plan, which I think is really the fundamental thing here, is micro payments for deep thoughts. Yeah, I like that.
It works in the Kindle sense, right? I mean, people will actually pay for blogs to be delivered to the Kindle. So if some people are like, why would I pay for this instead of just having it posted on the web and reading it there? Well, you'd pay for the convenience to have it delivered to your Kindle. But I think what's even more interesting going on here is that Amazon is not opening this up. The Kindle store is opened up. You got a PDF of your book, publish it on the Kindle store. There's an easy way to do it. I've done it myself, right? You just take your PDF, you put your price, you let it go. It's just like the Apple store or the Android store or anything like that. Here, they're saying to be considered for Kindle Singles, interested parties should contact digital-publications at Amazon.com.
This totally reinforces the salon idea.
We're putting out the call to smart people.
Aha.
Well, that's not
Dumb
what they said.
people need not apply.
Yes.
Unabomber, keep your manifesto to yourself.
Yeah, what did they say? They put out the calls to thinkers and something, dreamers. I don't remember.
And I think
some John Lennon lyric.
This is great. A very
serious writers, thinkers, scientists, business leaders, historians, politicians, and publishers.
Innovative marketing is creating a sense of exclusivity. And if they can do that, then they create a concept of scarcity and demand, and that's where people might pay for it in Kindle form or possibly on web form. Now, we may disagree on that, but it's almost what Slate was trying to do way before its time.
Writers won't violate their contracts with publishers by doing this because it's a different format. Amazon becomes a publisher and gets a bigger share of the revenue, and they have something that you can't get anywhere else on a Barnes & Noble Nook or a Sony e-reader. So I don't know if it'll take off. Well, I don't know what the market size is for something like that, but it's a rather low-cost gamble with a high kind of reward. It's almost Apple-like in its kind of care for quality. We're going to be the curator here, which is unlike Amazon.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. All right, we need to thank our sponsors, mailroute.info. If you haven't heard us talk about them before, they are a service that gets rid of spam on your hosted email. This is for people who host more than one account. This is for people, usually small businesses. Tom Johnson is a friend of Leo Laporte's, and he created FrontBridge for Microsoft, and then went on to try to figure out the solution to spam, and he thinks he's got it down. I've been using it for a couple of weeks now. It's resurrected my old subbrilliant.com email addresses, acedetect@subbrilliant.com. I don't feel weird giving it out because I don't get any spam in it now. It's a little unnerving. I'm waiting for one to squeak through, but so far so good. Anyway, he's blocking 96% of Leo's messages, and Leo says he's not getting hit with a bunch of spam. No false positives, 99.999% uptime, and they added a new option because so many people are out there like, yeah, I run 2 or 3 email addresses. Is that big enough? And he did have a $20 minimum. Well, now for folks who don't make the $20 minimum, because it's $2 per user per month, the list price is $33 per year for a small or family account. And if you're a TWiT user, you get a discounted price down to $29.70 per year. That's just under $2.50 per month. Normally, they don't like to do it by year. They do it by month, so you don't have to sign a contract. But for this small account, they're like, it just doesn't make sense to charge by the month, so we're charging by the year. Anyway, check them out at mailroute.info. Let's move on to Oracle and IBM. We got a couple things going on here. I think one thing is interesting. Becky thinks another thing is interesting. We think both things are of interest to the audience, so here we go. Oracle has got IBM to cooperate with them on their open source implementation of Java, OpenJDK. IBM previously provided all the people for the Harmony project. Now, this sounds like good centralization, and that's how the New York Times reported it. Why do we need 2 big projects? Let's get IBM over here. Come on, buddy. Let's put our differences aside. Let's all pitch in together on one project, right? Let's just harmonize these code bases. That's great. However, InfoWorld's Josh Frolinger pointed out that Android is built on the Harmony project. The components of Android that allow it to run Java code are based on the Harmony project. So if IBM pulls all of their people out of the Harmony project, that apparently leaves almost nobody working on it, which means that project either folds up or Google has to throw a bunch of developers in there. So it's a thumb your nose at Google at the very least. It's kind of probably will end up being sort of costly.
What do you see the effect on the end user, an Android user who wants to, is it a stability issue? And if this Harmony project goes away, what is the effect?
Well, the effect is you could end up with an Android device that won't do all the things that other devices can do based on Java, because your development platform is lagging behind. It could mean it could impede the development of features into Android. It probably won't. Google will throw money at the problem. Really, I don't know that the end user will end up in reality seeing any problem, because Google will act, right? They've got enough money to solve this problem, but it's going to be a real pain in their side.
And this is the inside baseball of the big boys figuring out who owes who.
Well, Oracle's suing Google
what.
right now over their Java implementation. So this is another way to poke them about that. Not only are we suing you for that Java implementation, but we just took all the developers working on it.
So there.
So, our yacht is bigger than yours.
More Oracle battles, and this one with HP. So the backstory. Larry Ellison bashes HP in their firing of Hurd choice of Leo Apotheker as their new CEO. Now, Apotheker is on Oracle's witness list for a trial beginning in November. This is a 3-year-old intellectual property fight, and Apotheker's former employer, SAP, is the main target here. So HP board member and former Oracle exec Ray Lane said, we didn't put Apotheker on the witness list until he became HP's CEO, and he then went on to blast Mark Hurd, and Lane saying Hurd has a serious lack of integrity and judgment. So this is, again, a continuation. One is corporate boom, boom, firing the salvos out, and this one is more of the big boys Like, there's a fight at the golf club. That's all I know. There is a fight at the golf club somewhere.
Nobody is allowed to play through anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you want to have bumpers on your golf cart right now, boy.
Absolutely. All right. Slashdot posting up today says that the Lower Merion School District in Pennsylvania has agreed to a $610,000 settlement in 2 lawsuits over secret photos taken on school-issued laptops. If you remember, this was the kid who said, hey, they took pictures of me through the camera on the laptop they gave me. I think it was a MacBook, wasn't it?
It was such a creepy story.
And so they took him to court, and the Lower Merion School District is settling out of court. Their lawyer will receive $425,000 of the $610,000.
Give me a break.
And the school district says we settled for the good of the taxpayers. Won't someone think of the taxpayers?
Well, maybe
there's an election coming up after all.
At least maybe the kids got enough for like their first 2 years of college. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, $185,000 will be put in trust for the students.
Okay, well,
that were in the law. The students affected anyway.
At least it's a period or an apostrophe at the end of the story, which was really unbelievable, and I think it had parents tremendously up in arms.
Finally, on the social networking front, this is a little obtuse here, but Twitter is crushing Facebook in one metric, not number of users, not even number of clicks, but the click-through percentage. So when somebody posts a URL on Facebook, it doesn't get nearly as many clicks percentage-wise as if somebody posts a URL on Twitter. In fact, for Facebook, you get a 287% click-through rate, which is pretty high. That's 2.87 clicks per link, right? Because you have more than one person seeing it. That's how you go over 100%. On Twitter, 1,904%.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Because the difference that I see is in Facebook, when you paste a link, it scrapes that link and provides some context around it. So maybe you know a little bit more about that link before clicking on it. With Twitter, a lot of times, it's just like a one-liner that somebody wrote, or it's very obscure and it's a link, so you almost have to click it to find out more about it. Is that why?
I'm almost thinking it's much more social than that, and especially now that the new Twitter provides that same context in terms of giving link context if you want to just kind of browse over it. I think it's actually your intent when you go to Facebook. When you go to Facebook, you are socially trying to catch up with your friends. What are they doing? What are their pictures? You're thinking about it almost the way you go to the reunion. You don't want to know what they're thinking. You just want to know what they're doing.
Yeah, you don't want to be taken out of that experience.
In Twitter, I think it's mind share. I think it's what is the interest of my friends?
Yeah,
what is their professional thought on this? And I do think that Twitter does have a higher intellectual cachet than Facebook.
Yeah. We should point out that Facebook still has a huge amount of traffic compared to Twitter. In fact, among social networking sites, Facebook is the more preferred service for sharing, making up more than 78% of usage, whereas Twitter maintains 5% of referrals and MySpace second with 14.5%. So they're well behind Facebook, according to this report by Social Twist, a marketing firm.
But the issue really is who's going to make money off of this. And Dick Costolo, the new CEO, says Twitter has cracked the code on advertising because of this click-through issue. And they say they're charging $100,000 a day for promoted tweets and promoted trends, and they're citing this click-through as justification for that cost. But I say, you know what? I don't see this data saying that people click through the trends on that, the promoted trends or the promoted tweets at that level. So I'm not sure that that's an appropriate marketing spin, but if I was the CEO, I'd try it.
Yeah, right? I mean, I run the place. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, we're worth it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what else we're worth? We're worth a good selection of news fuse stories. Poor lady. The new Yahoo Messenger app, now live in the iPhone App Store, offers multitasking on the iPhone 3GS and iPhone 4, 3G and Wi-Fi video calling, and instant notifications. Users interested in making voice calls can also tap into their bucket of Yahoo Voice phone out minutes, but it only works in America. That'd be the United States, I think. France, Germany, Spain, and Singapore at the moment.
The insanely popular yet insanely simple game Minecraft had so much interest that the servers were crushed, prompting a free weekend to make up for all the problems. Well, apparently that was an excellent idea, because once the game came back online for sale on Wednesday, Joystick's reporting that the game was purchased 25,936 times in one day, net 350,000 bones.
Wow. That guy is happy he made Minecraft. The Wall Street Journal reports that a Verizon executive confirmed the carrier is working on adding the capability to surf the web and talk on their phones at the same time. Verizon and Sprint both implemented CDMA in a way that splits data and voice, so the phones can't typically access both at once, but they're going to fix that right before they switch to LTE.
Some T-Mobile G2s are reportedly getting an official over-the-air update from T-Mobile that adds native internet tethering back into the phone. This is also with Wi-Fi calling, and T-Mobile plans to offer this on all of its forthcoming Android headsets.
Square Trade, a company that sells warranties for products, announced today that some research they have done claims that the iPhone 4 glass has broken 82% more than iPhone 3GS glass among their customers. Square Trade says they analyzed 20,000 iPhone 4s covered by their plans. Of course, you have to consider people are more willing to buy warranties if they're accident prone. And the iPhone 4 has 2 glass surfaces instead of 1. But still, all of that considered, it seems like the iPhone 4 has a little breakage issue.
If I were looking for a new little trade, I'd be learning how to replace that glass real fast. The Florida town of Altamont Springs had to relocate the town's IT gear 3 times in 2004 due to storms. So they decided enough was enough. They've refitted an old water tank to become the city's new data center.
That's what I do.
I think it's totally logical. The 18-inch thick walls on the 770,000-gallon tank now provide a weather-safe place for the city's IT gear to ride out any future hurricanes. I'm wondering how big the little port they had to drill through it was to get all of the cables in and out. Do you remember when we took a chunk of the Las Vegas Convention Center out to get all our cables in for Tech Live?
And then we blew up the sewer.
Yeah.
Those were good days. It's been a rich harvest for the folks over at NG Moko. They're the folks who make the game We Rule, and they sold themselves to Japan's Dina for $403 million. Also reaping the harvest, venture capital firm Kleiner Perkins, who invested $10 million in the firm, but they take $100 million out. Sweet. That's a better return than even the magic cauliflower.
And Kleiner Perkins still hasn't taken the money out for Zynga, which was also in some of that money.
They better hurry or it'll spoil. And then they'll have to clean it.
No, that's just the props, Tom. It's an inside We Rule joke. French site Moby France is showing off pictures of what it claims is the rumored Palm Pre 2. The new Pre has an improved front, runs WebOS 2.0, runs at 1 gigahertz with 512 megabytes of RAM. Moby France suggests we might see these in early November.
It looks like flatter.
They look,
not nearly as round.
They want to make it so it doesn't crack as easy. Yeah. That looks a lot like the Palm Pre.
My mother has the Palm Pre. I've been trying to work with her on it this week. It is excruciatingly not user-friendly for her.
Yeah,
I thought that it would be
maybe WebOS 2 will fix that.
Maybe.
Finally, we have some robots guarding our U.S. nuclear stockpiles in Nevada. The U.S. National Nuclear Security Administration announced that it has started using autonomous robot vehicles to patrol the vast desert surrounding the NNSS, the Nevada National Security Site. That's 1,360-plus square miles of territory and home to a bunch of nuclear waste, as well as Cold War-era nuclear weapons and nuclear testing research. So these are essentially Humvees with cameras.
It's kind of creepy, but my theory is it's better than the security on the nuclear weapons and nuclear stockpiles in Russia, so why should I complain?
Yeah, they see something they think is a little weird, they transmit back, somebody takes a look out of their camera, says, that's just Wile E. Coyote with his new Acme jet, it's fine, let it go.
I won't step in front of that robotic vehicle. Now, Tom, you did say finally, but it's not finally, because I have something I'd like for you to try out for me. I'm testing this on Good Morning America. It's the TV hat. Okay, so I just need you to put that on.
This hat was only made to make people on television look ridiculous.
No, just put it on.
Yeah,
it's for tech enthusiasts. It's for those of you who are listening. It is a baseball cap.
No, it's not.
It is a baseball cap.
It's not a baseball cap, nor is it for tech enthusiasts.
With a 70-inch long bill.
That's ridiculous.
Now, inside of it is a.
First of all, I can't keep it on because it's so freaking heavy.
Thank you. It has an iPhone pouch inside, and it has little drop-down visor shields on 100.
Magnifying lens.
It has a magnifying lens that makes the iPod screen look bigger. What do you think, Tom?
I think it's awful.
That's hot. I gotta say. That's going to catch on in other places, too. Even if it's not that functional for other people.
I don't even care how ridiculous it looks. Like, it just doesn't work. It's not comfortable. It's like hurting my neck.
Can you see inside of this, Chase, the way that here you go.
There we go.
You can see that It has the
the visor's not bad. The little, or not the visor, but the little magnifying glass I thought might be silly, but it actually works. It actually makes the screen big enough so it's filling your field of vision. You kind of need that. But wow. Otherwise,
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
It's the TV hat, gang. So I just want you to say, when you see me sunning in Vegas near the Death Ray, I'm going to be wearing this bad boy.
You have to hold it on with their other hand. It won't stay on your head otherwise.
It's a follow-up to the laser hair removal product.
It needs a weight on the back.
We've now officially unboxed 2 items on this show, the laser hair remover and the TV hat.
See, we only unbox premium items on this show.
Right. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
Too bad we weren't on when ShamWow came out.
Right. Let's take a look. Let's blow through the calendar here.
Starting October 15th, Walmart will be carrying the iPad. You would hope that there would be some price changes on it, but sadly, no. Pretty much the same prices that we see in the Apple Store. BlackBerry Style, or they're calling it the Oxford, which is a flip-out BlackBerry phone with a keyboard, launching on Sprint October 31st, Halloween.
Whoa.
I know.
Oxford.
Ooh, so spooky.
Yeah.
RIM has till January 31st to give Indian authorities complete access to its data. This is in the ongoing saga
Extended the deadline.
Yep, of unencrypted. They want access to the encrypted data stream for security reasons. Finally, Intel reported earnings. They said their third quarter record highs for revenue and operating income. Let's see, $3 billion on revenue of $11.1 billion, and it's up from the same quarter a year ago. But they did warn, hey, watch out for the next quarter. We think it might be flat. And always with chips, it's sort of a harbinger of the economy in general. So
now I know you said finally, but also don't forget tomorrow, Wednesday, October 13th, at live.twit.tv, myself and Leo Laporte will be interviewing Mr. Steve Wozniak. Mm-hmm. It's the first of what we hope to be a series of interesting folks, big thinker types. So you can post your questions to the hashtag WozOnTwit on Twitter, or just email them. And we will talk to the Woz tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Sweet.
On to the voicemail, 260-TNT show. You know those colored lights we were talking about they used at the new T-Mobile merged company?
So bad.
There's a problem with them.
Yeah, this is Jim from Illinois calling. I just wanted to say that I actually think that whole story with the lights showing you if you're fired or not, it's actually really cruel to colorblind people. Having accidentally made horrible jokes about a friend of mine with color blindness when I was young and didn't realize he was, makes me just realize that would be awful if you went in there and just went, do I still have my job?
No, you're colorblind. We can't employ you anymore. You lose your health insurance.
And for those of you who didn't hear this story, it was just horrible. They didn't tell you if you were fired. They just showed you a light that was a symbol of whether or not you lost your job.
Blue meant you were safe. Green meant you were probably safe. Yellow meant you had to reapply. And red meant you lost your job. So if you're red, green, colorblind, you're hoping for blue.
You have no idea.
Because that's the only one you can tell.
So horrible.
All right, on to the emails.
All right. First up, we have Vance, who wrote in saying, following up on yesterday's discussion regarding how the apps from Amazon Android Market would sync, they really could do it over the air. AppBrain, which I use all the time, I don't know why I didn't think of this, does this perfectly. You sign into AppBrain with your Google ID, and basically you just click install on the apps as you find them on the website. Then you go to the app on your phone and press install there, and it will kind of sync between the two. Very simple and effective, no physical sync needed.
Nice. Yeah. Ken W. wrote in and said he had a Netflix issue with his Apple TV, like we were talking about yesterday. All he did was go into general settings, did a reset settings, rejoined his Wi-Fi and Netflix info, but that fixed the problem. And then Matthew in Indio, California wrote in and said he actually got an email from Netflix. He has a Sony Blu-ray player, not an Apple TV. He was having problems on Friday night. And they said, hey, we understand you're having trouble watching Netflix instantly on your Netflix-ready device, so we're giving you a 2% credit on your next billing statement from Netflix. Well, it's not that big of a credit, but at least they acknowledged it.
Maybe it wasn't Apple TV at all, just to...
Yeah, maybe a Netflix thing.
Yeah. This from Hate Bad Design, who's always in the chat room and a friend of the show. He says, I didn't think this would make a good story, but maybe it'll engender a chuckle or two. Steve Jobs made the headlines in Danish tabloid Ekstra Bladet this weekend. Denmark legalizes pornography back in '69. In 79, Extra Bladet introduces the page 9 girl, scantily clad. You know, it's a part of the paper, right? Trying to be hip, Extra Bladet naturally wants to offer their readers an iPhone app. But of course, the iPhone people get in touch with the newspaper and say, not so much for the nasty nudity. Well, the Who's Got the Best Bum contest was completely off limits in the app. It's a crime. Well, the chief editor of the newspaper is annoyed at this attitude. He says the app is in Danish, the newspaper's for the Danes. Why should the Americans censor them? Well, the readers got really upset. They've suggested everything from lawsuits to boycotting Apple. And the bottom line...
Get it?
They've basically crowdsourced what to do. They've asked their readers, okay, we want your comments. What should we do? Should we just scrap the app completely? Should we... take out the bums? What to do? And
Throw the bums out.
Throw the bums out. Just show us the news. Wah, wah. But I think what's really interesting is this raises a great point for an open marketplace as opposed to a walled garden. It's creating space for differences in social norms. And that's something I hadn't considered really in the benefits of the open market as much.
Yeah, you need to have a different set of rules for every culture you're in. And you could have a set of rules for the United States that's great in San Francisco but does not play well in Peoria and vice versa. So that we've said this before, but that's the problem when you start trying to set the rules, is that you start to have all the problems governments have.
Right.
Where you have certain interests competing with others on those gray areas.
Hello, globalization issues.
Something is rotten in Denmark. It's Apple.
Bum.
It's a rotten apple.
No.
Rotten at the bum.
I'm not
that was going
there.
in two
I'm
totally
not
different
going
directions
there
right there.
at all.
Please don't.
I'm just going to put my TV hat on and just leave you to your own thoughts.
Well, Becky enjoys her TV hat. I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for watching or listening, everybody. TWiT.tv/TNT is the place to find our website. Has the wiki with all of our show notes there. You can also call us. Give us a call, why don't you? 260-TNT show, and email us tnt@twit.tv. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.